Namaste, beautiful. Does anyone else feel like they've lived 3 lifetimes in the past 3 weeks? I certainly do. You may have noticed that in those 3 weeks, I have not posted any new classes, which is because I haven't made any new classes. And you might know that I do not plan on ever committing to posting any number of classes in any amount of time. And the reason for that is because I am committed to only sharing any kind of video, whether it is a yoga class or this kind of video or some other kind of lesson, whatever, when my energy is right to do so. And it hasn't been. So I've been very focused on cleansing and clearing my physical body, my mind, my energetic body, everything. And I had an idea that I was going to be doing that before I left Boston to come down to Florida. But then it was like my higher self told me to. And a lot of times that happens when I'm sitting in meditation, but this actually happened when I was on the elliptical. I was at a hotel. I generally stay at hotels in between transitioning between places. It just is easier for me. And so I was at a hotel and I was on the elliptical, and I had just my body had been really swollen, like super swollen. I only flew from Boston to St. Petersburg. So sometimes I blame it on the flight, but flight was not long enough for my body to be as swollen as it was. And so I was trying to sauna. I was trying to just get it out quickly. I was doing I was actively on the elliptical right as this happened. I had been, doing lots of twisting in my yoga practices and just really trying to clean quickly. Because that's kind of what we've been conditioned to want in this world that we live in, right? Is getting things done as fast as possible. And so I'm working out hard, trying to sweat as much as I can, trying to cleanse. And I just got this message that was like, you need to fast. And I know that every time I fast, I feel a lot better afterwards. And sometimes then I continue the cleanse and I feel even better. And sometimes I'm not so good at that, to be completely honest. But I don't like fasting. I love eating. And it's really hard to not eat for several days, right? For so many reasons. But I was like, all right. I'll do it. So only about 24 hours into it, I realized that it was not just going to be a 3-day fast. It was going to be, I don't even know how long, of a cleanse. And so something I'd really not wanting to admit to myself for pretty much my whole life is that my sugar intake is quite high. Not because I'm always eating refined sugars or cane sugar or anything with added sugar. But when I'm not eating those things, I am eating fruits with a lot of sugar. Look up how much sugar is in a mango. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I just told you to do that, but you know? And so personally, I have all of these mixed feelings about different ways of cleansing, how I should be eating in order to cleanse. And so people have asked me multiple times to make videos on what I eat in a day. And I've said I don't want to do that because I don't think everybody should eat the same thing. But it's also because I'm not confident that I was eating what was right for me. I knew that I wasn't. And it's kind of an embarrassing thing to say, but, and I, as usual, I didn't go to the doctor, but I'm pretty sure that I had candida overgrowth and that I am still kind of struggling with it. So after my 3-day fast, that was the most difficult one that I have ever done before. Like I had 0 energy, which was probably in part because of the amount of caffeine that I had been consuming to try to combat the fact that I didn't have energy for the past several months, which I'm pretty sure was related to this gut bacteria. Which, as a yoga teacher, it is not easy to admit that. It's difficult to admit to myself. It's even more difficult to admit to other people. But alas, that I'm pretty sure is what was happening. And so my entire life, I've struggled with the symptoms of this. And something I talked about in a past video is that knowing about the yogi diet kind of makes it harder because it includes quite a bit of wheat and sugar. And I never eat gluten. And so I'm like always trying to blame it on the gluten when sugar is a pretty big culprit too. And I've been through phases of cutting out caffeine. I've cut out caffeine for years before. And I'll cut out alcohol for years, or at least most of it, and then occasionally, like maybe once or twice in a year, I would drink caffeine or alcohol or whatever. And so I always tried to blame it on those things. And I never cut out the fruit. So now today is Wednesday the 22nd, I guess. And I started the fasting on Thursday the 9th. And I've not eaten a piece of fruit. I haven't had any grains, any potatoes, like anything that is like a carb. Of course, there are also carbs in other foods, but it's a lot. And so I've been very focused on that part of cleansing my body while also doing other shadow work and other work in cleansing my emotions and cleansing my thoughts. So that's what I've been doing. And now I'm going to relate it to yoga. So in yoga, we have what are called either the shakriyas or the shatkarmas, and they are purifications of the body. I'm not going to go over what they all are. You can look it up if you want to. There's 6 of them. So one of them, Kapalabhati, the forehead cleansing, I do most days in my morning practice. I do my Pranayama asana, and I do my Kapalabhati, and then I do my meditation. Except for during my period and the times around it, and then instead of Kapalabhati, then I switch to Nadi Shodan because it's less intense on the uterus area. Anyway, that's one of them that I do all the time. And like I said, I use the asana practice all the time to cleanse. I mean, how many classes have I made about detoxing and cleansing? And the things that I guide you through are the things that I do as well. But asana is not always enough. And even pranayama is not always enough. And so sometimes I'll do a dhati cleanse, like the traditional, well, kind of the traditional yogi way. So you drink a bunch of salt water with lemon, and then you do a series of asanas, and it comes out. You can also do it such that it comes out this way, but I don't do it that way. I really don't like to vomit. So the last time I did it, however, was when I was in El Salvador, and it didn't feel like it cleansed enough. So I was like, well, there's more than one way to cleanse your digestive tract, right? And so that's why I chose to do the fasting this time, and that's why I'm doing it with the food. And also, you know, these other practices where I'm going through and clearing stuff out. So sometimes we want to think that asana is enough, you know, especially, maybe not especially, but definitely as a teacher, right? I want to be able to use the asana practice to just solve all my problems. But even I write, you know, in the introduction to this channel, and I say to people all the time, yeah, yoga is the answer, but asana is a very small piece of yoga. So the cleaning that I am doing right now feels still very much like yoga. During the fasting part of it, I just spent most of the time in silence. I've actually spent most of the past 3 weeks in silence. I've spoken very little out loud. Most of the time that I've spoken out loud has been to my camera. And I feel better now. My body is a lot less puffy. Man, you should see my feet. It was like, it was as if I traveled around the world. I don't even think when I've gone to India in one day, my feet have been so swollen before. So, yeah, I just wanted to tell you what I've been doing, and maybe if you also feel like you need a bit of a cleanse, to listen to what you're being told and do that. I think this is a really nice time of year to be doing it. I know a lot of people do dry January, right? So you might as well include, you know, other cleansing practices in that if you want, you know. So that's my story. And I hope to put up some kind of class for you sometime in the near future. Also, what I have been doing as far as my asana practice in these past few weeks. So during the fast, then I did very little movement. On the last day, I didn't even do Pawan Muktasana. I didn't even have the strength to do Pawan Muktasana. And that was really crazy. And I don't know how much of it has to do with like I said, the cutting out the caffeine or whatever. But I don't even usually drink it before I do that. So yeah. And so I did very little movement for about 5 days. And then I very slowly got back to it. So I think I did an Ashtanga practice for the first time about a week ago. So about a week into it. So in that time, it felt like I lost a lot of strength. And actually, to be completely honest, I hadn't been doing very much strength-based practices in the month and a half-ish leading up to the cleanse. The classes that I posted were kind of strength-based, and that was kind of what I'd been doing, which personally is not that much. Most of the time I'm doing more strength-based, more flexibility-based. But I was doing a lot of just dancing in the dance studio and less just strict yoga asana practice. So going back to Ashtanga primary series, I didn't have the strength that I did the last time I did it, that's for sure. So that's always a journey in itself, right? In that choosing to clean, which may deplete energy, over training for the ego is, well, definitely on the path of yoga, right? So the purpose of doing the cleansing practices, of doing the shat karmas, is to be cleaner in order to move farther towards samadhi. And that direction is more important to me than my physical strength at this point, which is strange because it wasn't always like that, but it's been that way for about a year-ish, I'd say. Maybe even longer. I don't know. Time is not real, right? So, on the days that I have not been practicing Ashtanga, I've gotten back to doing this. It's this video, I bought it years ago, like 10 years ago. It's called Yoga for Real Energy by Maya Fianes. And I bought it on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out. And it's like this Kundalini dance. But I don't remember it ever being so difficult on my body as it has been in the past week. Like my arms were getting so tired, and I was like, wow, I must have been way stronger in all the past times that I've done this over the past 10 years. So that was also fascinating. It felt good. I mean, I like when I feel sore like that. I'm just not used to that making me sore. I've been walking, like fast walking, to try to actually get my body better prepared to start running again since last time I hurt my hip. And even that, I was like getting sore. I was like, what is going on? So yeah, I mean, everything can be yoga if we are conscious about it, right? And if we are keeping our ego in check and moving in the direction of samadhi rather than the direction of only feeding the ego. That all being said, we are here on earth, right? So while I do think that this cleansing process is important, I don't want to go forever without, drinking a coffee or having a couple glasses of champagne or margaritas. I only drink tequila and champagne if ever I drink, so that's why I said those things. But I don't want to go forever without doing that again, because here I am on earth in this body and I can do those things. So balance, is also important. Okay. I think I've completed what I would like to convey. Thank you for watching and for listening. And I hope to see you in a class sometime very soon. This hurts my arms to do this. Maybe I can make yours hurt this much in the next class. We'll see. Probably not the next class. The next class is probably going to be something flexibility based and gentle. All right, anyway. With so much love. Namaste.